Today we're going to talk about one of the most important people in European history, Napoleon Bonaparte. He was a very successful military leader from France, and he conquered most of Europe during the early years of the 1800s. He lived in the years just after the famous French Revolution. In this revolution, the King of France was overthrown by the people and a republic was set up. The revolution was not successful, however, and Napoleon took power a few years later. He became as powerful as any king had been before. Napoleon was born in 1769 in Corsica, which is an island just off the south coast of France. He was born into a rich family and he was educated at a military school. He did well and was quickly promoted up to being a commander in the French army. His first major victory was an invasion of Italy. At the time of Napoleon, France was trying to expand its empire over Europe, but it had many enemies. Their major competitor was Britain, which already had a large empire, such as in India. Napoleon wanted to win against the British, but he knew France was not strong enough to attack Britain directly. He thought of another idea, however. He decided to invade Egypt, because from there he could cut off Britain's connection to India. He could cut off the trade between Britain and her empire. Napoleon successfully invaded Egypt, but then the British got their revenge. They won a major victory against him while he was there. All Napoleon's ships were in the River Nile in Egypt. The British attacked them while Napoleon was away and destroyed them all. This was a famous battle known as the Battle of the Nile. This was a major military loss for Napoleon, but it wouldn't stop him. He continued to fight new battles, and in 1799 he launched a coup to take power in France. He became the Emperor of France and ruled until 1815. During this time, he made a number of changes inside France, such as improving the legal system or the law in the country. He also successfully conquered much of Europe, including what is now Germany. He created an empire right across Europe and won a number of great and famous victories. However, in 1803 he was defeated again by the British at the Battle of Trafalgar, so he decided to leave Britain alone and go east instead. He decided to take his army east and invade Russia. Unfortunately, this invasion would be a disaster, and it would be the beginning of the end for Napoleon. In 1812, he raised an army of almost 500,000 men and attacked Russia. However, the Russians knew they could not defeat Napoleon's army, so they tried to avoid fighting. The Russians kept retreating, moving further back into Russia, and as they went, they burnt anything Napoleon's army could use as food. The French got deeper and deeper into Russia, but not only were they running out of food, the Russian winter was also getting nearer. The French finally had to retreat, but trying to get back to France in the winter without any food was a disaster. Of the almost 500,000 men that had started the invasion, only 40,000 returned alive. This was the major turning point in Napoleon's wars, and from then on, the British and her allies started winning the war against him. Napoleon was finally defeated, and he was put in prison on an island in the middle of the sea. People thought Napoleon was finished forever. However, he somehow managed to escape from the island and raised a new army. He took control again for 100 days. He then decided to attack the British one last time to see if he could finally defeat them. They met at the Battle of Waterloo in 1815, but Britain and her allies won again. and Napoleon's return to power was over quickly. This time he was put in prison much further away, on an island in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, 1,800 kilometers off the coast of Africa. He could not escape a second time, and he died on the island. Although he was defeated in the end, and although he made a number of important mistakes, like trying to invade Russia, Napoleon was still one of the greatest leaders of all time. He took the French army and conquered most of Europe. Even in Britain, he is greatly respected. The famous battles where the British defeated Napoleon are still remembered today. The Battle of Trafalgar gives its name to Trafalgar Square in the middle of London. The Battle of Waterloo gives its name to the biggest train station in London, Waterloo Station. The fact that the British have named so many important places after their battles with Napoleon shows how much he was respected as a military leader.